Hi, my name's Olivia, and I'm a first-time mom with an 8-month-old baby boy, and I like to do things a little bit more crunchy, a little bit more natural, and today I want to share my birth story. So I've been super apprehensive about creating this story because although I have a beautiful, healthy, sweet baby boy, this is not what I would consider a positive birth story. The outcome was great, but how I got there, in my opinion, isn't the most positive. So, if you are pregnant, especially if you are in the later stages of your pregnancy, please do not watch this. If you are struggling to find positive birth stories, I have a million saved. So, feel free to comment, email me, whatever. I am more than happy to share those, but please do not watch this until maybe after you've had your sweet baby. So, if I haven't scared you off yet, let's get into it. So I had an 86.5 hour labor, and I also had a surprise wrong gender. So, a little backstory, we went my whole pregnancy wanting a surprise. We did not want to know the gender. Our doctor's office knew that. And at our 36-week appointment, I got that last ultrasound, and they knew that I did not want to know the gender. She hit it on the ultrasound, made us look away at times. And at the end, she finished and turned that screen off, but then another form popped up, and I saw the form and it said at the top female or gender female. So I immediately was like, oh no. And then she was like, okay, y'all don't look at this page, but I had already seen it. So I'm like everything's ruined. I'm looking at my husband trying to gauge his reaction, and then we get to the car after the appointment and I'm like, can you believe that that whole thing was just ruined? This is terrible. And we know the gender, and he's like, what are you talking about? I didn't look. I don't know what you're talking about. So basically for the next 5 weeks, I had to hide from my husband what the gender actually was, and then come to terms with the fact that it was ruined for me, and then come to terms with the fact that we were having a girl, which was good because we had the name for the girl. We did not have a name for the boy. And then also hide it from our family and friends. So anyways, I obviously have a baby boy. And so if you sit till the end, I'll share a little clip of my reaction of finding out that it was actually a boy and not a girl. So my due date was June 1st. And on June 2nd, I went to dinner with my family, and during dinner, my mom kept feeling my belly, and she was like, I think you're having contractions because your belly's really hard. And I'm like, no, my belly's just really hard. And so I just dismissed it, went home. I went to bed around midnight, and at 2 a.m. I woke up and I had to pee. So I go to the bathroom, and as I get to the bathroom, my mucus plug falls on the floor, this splats. And I had done a ton of research, and I knew that that could mean something, could mean nothing. And so I was just like, whoa, that's cool. Something happened, because nothing had happened so far. No contractions, no anything. And so I called my husband in, who hadn't even been to bed yet. And I was like, hey, I think this is my mucus plug. So I go pee. We clean it up, and as I'm on the toilet, I have a feeling, and I'm like, was that a contraction? Was it not? I don't know. I haven't had one, so I don't know what this is. So then it's all down my legs. So I go into the shower to rinse it off, and when I'm in the shower, I have another one of those. So I was like, okay, I think it is a contraction. And then I go lay in bed, and I have another. And for some reason, that one was way more uncomfortable than the other two. The other two were fine. But laying down, I was like, ugh, that doesn't feel great. And then a few minutes later, I have another one. So then I'm like, okay, the adrenaline for one is kicked in. And then two, this is not comfortable laying down. So I'm going to get up. My husband went to bed because we could be having a baby that day. So he goes to sleep. I go in the living room, and I know that you're supposed to get rest. Totally understand. And I just couldn't, because I was too excited, and then laying down didn't feel good. And so anyways, I guess I didn't do what I was supposed to do. And I go start to do laundry. I watch a show. I'm trying to like just like rest on my birth ball, try to sit on the couch and just like hang out. And I just timed them just to see what was going on. And they were about 3 to 5 minutes apart. And they kept coming like at seemed like regular intervals. And so I wasn't like timing them the whole time, but I was like, this is weird. Maybe my mom was right. Maybe I was having contractions. I just didn't know about it. I've definitely heard stories of that happening, where people are like in labor, but they don't realize it. So I was like, maybe that was happening during dinner. Maybe it was happening when I was asleep for those 2 hours. I don't know. So maybe I am like a little bit further along than just like your normal person. So anyways, at like 5 or 6 a.m., I'm like, okay, my back's kind of hurting and I'm also running out of things to distract myself with. So I woke up my husband and I'm like, hey, can you like distract me? And also at a point he started applying counter pressure, which was great. I don't know why my back was hurting so bad. I was having back labor. That was the only thing that was like painful. It wasn't really painful, especially at the beginning. It was just, I don't know. The contractions around my stomach, they didn't hurt like that. They were just like easy to breathe through and I was fine. Anyways, so my husband and I were just like playing games and trying to watch a show and trying to just like waste time. And at a point, the contractions are like for 3 to 4 minutes, just like a couple. So we're like, okay, let's sound an alarm to our family. And for some reason, once like they knew about it, they kept like bugging him on the phone, like, hey, when are you going to the hospital? When are y'all gonna go? When are y'all gonna go? And I felt this pressure, even though I kind of knew it wasn't time to go, but I also was like, okay, they're wanting me to go. And then I was also kind of curious, like, where am I at? And it was just like a mind game. And so we waited a few more hours. We hadn't even like packed a hospital bag or anything. We didn't have the car seat ready, nothing. So my husband starts like finally getting those things together and putting the car seat in the car for the first time. And we start packing a bag. And by like 3 or 4, we actually end up going to the hospital. And I remember the car ride was not comfortable. And also I had been just like laboring in the dark because it was like I labored through the night and then I labored in the bedroom, but we had like the blinds down. It was very dark and I was just like having a good time at home. And then when we go outside, it's summer, so it's all hot and it's in the bright part of the day. It's like 3 or 4 in the afternoon. And so I just remember like I could tell that the contractions were like slowing in the car, but they also were like super uncomfortable in the car. And then when we got to the hospital, it was weird because I didn't know where to go. I didn't do like one of those tours or anything. So we were like, like, where are we going? What's happening? And then once you get in there, they take you to like some random room, like a waiting room situation. And then you have to wait for somebody to come in and hook you up to all of these monitors. And they checked me and I was 90% of face and 2 centimeters dilated. I was like so upset, like so discouraged. I know that the number doesn't mean anything, but I was just like, it's been a little while. Like that's it. That's all. And so basically they said you can either stay in this weird room and see where they go for a couple hours, or you can just go back home. And I really wanted an unmedicated birth. I wanted the least amount of interventions as possible. And so I'm like, it would be much better if I just go home. And luckily, even though I was like so upset, I'm pretty sure I cried when they told me how dilated I was. The nurse was so amazing. She was like, you're okay. You can totally do this. Go home. Like, you can do this naturally. You're breathing through it. You're doing a great job. Like, she really like pumped me up and helped my mental state. But also my contractions when they hooked me up to the monitors, they were 6 to 7 minutes apart, which I knew like they the longer I was out of the house, I feel like the longer apart they got. And so I come home and I'm like kind of discouraged, but kind of like, oh, it's okay. And all the nurses I was leaving, they're like, we'll see you tonight, like whatever. So I was had mixed feelings. So we come home, my husband takes a nap because he needed it, and my mom and sister are with me. They got me like some water and juice or not juice, like, I don't know, coconut water or something like that, and a banana because I hadn't eaten anything. And they just like kind of hung out with me, and they were like secretly timing me, and I know that they were like 7 to 8 minutes apart. So they were getting even further apart, which was not good for my mental state. So, anyways, my husband wakes up, we go on a walk. I'm trying to do some curb walking, and he's like kind of lifting my spirits. I'm still kind of upset, and nothing seems to like be progressing. And I knew that if you get in the water, that can like pick things up. So I took a bath. It did nothing. Although when I was like laying in the bath, it wasn't bad to have a contraction for some reason. Like laying in bed, it didn't feel good, but laying in the bath, it was like I could do it. So I was like, I'm about to get a pillow and sleep in this because I don't know, I don't feel like I could actually have gone to sleep, but it was better in the bath, although like nothing changed. So I do remember us watching a movie that night, and I was like so uncomfortable. I remember sitting on the couch, and I had like our desk chair in front of me, and I put the birth ball on top of that, and I was like leaning over it, and I did not watch any of the movie. Like I couldn't even concentrate, and I was just like in pain. My back hurt so bad, and I hate to say pain because it was like more the exhaustion and like the defeat of the day than like real pain, but my back did hurt. Like my back hurt a lot. And so, anyways, he goes to sleep. I'm like laying on the couch, sitting on the couch with an airplane pillow, trying to like get rest in between these contractions. They're like 10 minutes apart. So I'm like trying to like sleep for a few minutes and then get woken up by a contraction and then try to sleep for a few minutes like while I'm like sitting on the couch by myself, and then like your mind is going to not good places. And anyways, so it was like 4 a.m, and my mom had texted me like concerned. So I called her. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I don't know what to do. And she just suggested that I go back to the hospital. And I'm like, internally, I knew, like, what can they do for me? They can't do anything for me. But I was like, I don't know what to do. And like, how long can I do this for? I don't know what's happening. Like, nothing is getting better. If things were progressing and like things were getting more intense or things were like getting closer together, then I feel like I would have felt like I can do this, like progress is happening. But that's not what was happening. It was like 10 minutes apart for hours. And I'm just like, what? What am I doing? Like, at least slow down enough for me to sleep or pick up enough for me to have this baby, like, choose. And it wasn't happening. Anyways, so I end up waking up my husband. I'm like, we got to go back to the hospital. So we go back, and of course, same situation. We go into the little room, they hook me all up, and then they check me. And again, I am 90% of face and 2 centimeters dilated. So pretty sure I cried again. I was just like, I don't know what to do. I'm so like angry. And it's been like 26 plus hours at this point, and like, what do I do? Especially with no sleep. I had 2 hours of sleep in the past 2+ days. So anyways, so they had a midwife that they said they could bring in to come talk to me. And so I thought that was like, oh, midwife, that's better than OB, which is sad that I thought that, but I had an OB and not a midwife. Anyways, so the midwife comes in and she's like, we can either give you the shot to make you go to sleep for a few hours, 4 to 6 hours, I think she said, or we can give you a pill. And I hate shots. I hate needles. So another reason why I did not want an epidural. So I was like, I will take the pills. Are they safe for my baby? I didn't even ask what they were. I have no idea. I'm sure they were terrible. But I said, are they safe for my baby? She said yes. And so I took them and I went home and I had like 2 hours of sleep, which at that moment was like so incredible. I woke up and I felt so much better. Like I felt like motivated. I was like, I can do this. Let's go, whatever. Like it was super early in the morning when I woke up. Well, super early for me. It was like, what, like 7 or 8 a.m. And so I go and take a walk and I'm doing curb walking and I'm like listening to birth affirmations and I'm like getting all pumped up in my head again. Like I'm like, I can do this. And again, they're still like 10 minutes apart and they have not picked up an intensity. They're still just like how they are. So I can still walk through them, breathe, and it's fine. And my husband goes to work, my mom comes over and she's like, what do you want to do? Do you want to just like hang out and rest and like be distracted? Or do you want to get things going? Like, are you trying to like get the baby out? I'm like, let's get the baby out. So I'm pretty sure I did the mile circuit 2 times. I did this birth course. And so I had like all these different positions that you can get into. So my mom helped me get into all of these. Like I was like side lying with like a ball in between my legs. I tried the forward leaning inversion. Is that right? Like where you're like upside down basically. I was doing tons of things on my birth ball. I was like on hands and knees. I did all the things. Tons of curb walking. We went on multiple walks and nothing changed. Nothing changed. It's the night of the 4th. So I am still on the couch. I'm trying to sleep, but I can't. And I still have my airplane pillow and I'm like trying to be comfortable, trying to sleep between contractions. And I probably got like a few minutes here and there. And then I am just like, what am I supposed to do? Because last time I went and got the last night I had gone to the hospital and gotten the pills to sleep. This time I didn't have anything. And so I'm just like, again, this exhaustion is setting in and I am like, the only thing I know to do would be to call my OB and they don't open until 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. And so I'm like counting down the clock. I remember I would like look at my phone and I'm like, okay, we have 3 hours left. Okay. And then, okay, we have like 2 hours and 30 minutes left and whatever. I was torturing myself. So then finally it hits like 8 or 9, whatever, and I call my OB and I like tell the office what's going on because of course they don't know. The hospital doesn't let them know. They don't communicate even though they're like right next to each other. But anyways, so I tell them what's going on and they're like, can't really do anything, but you can go take Tylenol PM and sleep for a few hours and hopefully you'll feel better. So I immediately go and take Tylenol PM and it literally does nothing. I do not sleep. Nothing came of that. And you can't take it for another 12 hours. And so I was just like, okay, I'm even more angry because, I don't know. It was just like a ton of like mentally, like I am super excited. I can do this. Like, let's go. And then just like, I hate this. I don't know what's going on. I can't get out of it and I want to quit. So it was like very much a mind game, very much. So now it's the 5th of June and I'm just doing the same thing. I'm like trying to go on walks and trying to like be positive, but also that day, I remember that whole day, I was just like, no, I'm done. I quit. Like these need to stop. The day before I felt more encouraged and I was like, let's get the baby out. Let's do all the things. And then like the 5th, I'm just like, no, like this all needs to stop. And I also remember I had an induction scheduled for the 10th. And before all of this had occurred, I was like, I don't care what they say. I'm not going to be induced. Like, I will just not show up. Like, my baby's going to come when my baby wants to come. And now that I'm in it, I'm like, it's the 5th. And if I have to wait till the 10th to get induced, I have to wait 5 more days of this, like 5 more days of not sleeping. Like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Like, my back hurts so bad and I just like can't, ugh. And then also in the middle of that afternoon, you know, you can do anything for 45 seconds, you can do anything for a minute. And I fully believed that. Like, I was like, I can do this for 45 seconds, I can do this for a minute. And I would breathe through them, and it was fine. And then for some reason, I still don't know why, they started to be between like a minute and a half to 3 minutes. So I like noticed that a contraction was really long, and I'm like, what's going on? So I like start timing it, and I'm like, okay, it's been 2 minutes, it's been 2.5 minutes, it's been 3 minutes, and finally it would stop. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, I didn't even know that you could have one for 3 minutes. And so that luckily only happened for like a few hours, but that was like really messing with my mind because when you have it stuck in your mind, like, I can do this for a minute, and then 1 minute turns to 3, it's just like, terrible. Anyways, my husband comes home at a point, he is done working at the office, but he still has more work to do, so he goes to the office at our house to work. So I'm sitting on the couch, and I remember just like mentally spinning. Like, I didn't know what was going on, I didn't know what to do. I'm like, how much longer can I deal with this? I feel bad because I don't like want to interrupt my husband. I know he has work to do. I also have like, he has done so much this time, like, he's done as much as he could. Like, he's done so much counter pressure, and he's helped me in the bath and the shower, and gone to get meals and drinks and whatever. Not that I ate anything other than a banana, but he's really been helpful, and I just like didn't know what to do. And I didn't really want to interrupt him, so I'm just like text my mom and my sister, and I'm like, one or both of you need to come over right now. Like, I can't, I'm about to have a freak out. So then I tell my husband, I'm like, I am on the verge of a mental breakdown, I don't know what to do. So he's like, let me go get you food, it's gonna be okay. So he leaves, and so I'm alone for a little bit while my family's coming. And I remember going to the bathroom, and I was just like so upset, so distraught, and I like started freaking out. I lost control of my breath, and I grabbed the towel that was hanging, and I just like screamed into it, and I was like, Lord, please help me, I can't do this anymore, I cannot do this, I need your help, like, get this baby out of me, do something, or give me a break, like, I don't know, but I just can't. And I'm just like bawling, freaking out, and that was terrible for the pain. Like, when you freak out, oh my gosh, like, it is very much true, it was way worse. Like, I had to collect myself really quick after that because it was painful to go through a contraction while you're freaking out, you're screaming, you can't breathe. So don't ever recommend, but also I was just like at the end of the road. So finally my mom and sister come, and we start playing like some game, Bananagrams, and within like 5 to 10 minutes of that, I kid you not, I stand up, I have to pee, and my water breaks. And I'm like, guys, either my water broke or I just peed myself, I don't know. And so I go to the bathroom, like with each step, like a little bit more is coming out. And so I'm like, yeah, my water just broke. So I go pee, I jump in the shower, and my little sister has to like hose me down. I feel a little bad for that, but whatever. And we kind of noticed that the water is tinged like a little bit yellowy green, which at the time I didn't know what that meant. And so we call the hospital, call my husband, we're like, hey, this just happened, come home. And then the hospital, I tell them what's going on, and they're like, oh, your water broke, so you need to come in immediately. And of course, now I know that I shouldn't have, I should have just stayed at home. But anyways, so my husband comes home, I eat some of the food, and we get our bags repacked and put in the car and whatever. And we're kind of just taking our time. And after about an hour, we head to the hospital. And once we're there, they check me. They have to like make sure that your water actually broke, which mine did. And then they check your dilation. And again, I was at like 2.5 centimeters. So it was still discouraging, but also I knew that like labor was, or my baby was going to come because my water broke. So I didn't feel as bad as I did the first 2 times. So they finally admit me, and since my water broke, that meant I couldn't leave the hospital. So I get into a room, and before that, while I'm in the like waiting room, a doctor comes in and he's like, hey, this like yellowy green stuff is meconium, so that means you have 18 hours to get this baby out. And I did not know what that was at the time, and so all I know is that like this smelly, gross, thick, yellow green stuff is coming out nonstop, and like the idea that my baby was like rolling around in that, breathing that, I was like a little bit panicked, and I took their like 18-hour thing seriously, and I kind of just had a lot more anxiety about it. And then they also suggested that I start Pitocin, which from all the stories I've heard, almost all the time when you start Pitocin, you end up with an epidural, and I did not want that at all. So I was like, no, I'm going to decline. My baby's going to come out. It's okay. So I get up to the room, and I had a really awesome nurse. She was like, you can do this naturally. Like, we can do all these positions, and gave me this like laminated handout, and she's like, I can help you. And she actually helped me do like some different positions, like this like side lying position on the bed where she was like massaging me with my leg hung over. It actually felt really good. And then they also had peanut ball, which I did not have at home, so I was using that. And they also had monitors that allowed me to like get up and move, which was really awesome, so I wasn't like tied down. And then I didn't have to get an IV, but I had to get like the needle in my hand, so I just like had it taped up, but I wasn't connected to anything, which was good. And so I'm just like trying to get things rolling. My husband is asleep. He actually put on my pajama bottoms. It's kind of embarrassing. And he's just like sleeping. I'm on the ball. I'm laying on the bed. I'm like trying to do different things to get things going because I'm on a clock. No way I'm sleeping now. And then I have this like midwife lady come in, and she's like, hey, like, the timer is on and we need to start Pitocin, and also, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, what do you mean? I was sitting on my ball talking to my husband, like, what do you mean? And she's like, you should be asleep, like, why are you not asleep? And I'm like, I'm having contractions. I've been doing this for days. Like, what do you mean? She was like so upset that I wasn't asleep. I'm like, have you had a baby? Like, you're a woman. I don't know. It really made me angry in the moment. But anyways, so I declined the Pitocin, and I was like, let me keep going. And the nurse was really awesome. She's like, you don't have to do it. It's okay. So anyways, I keep going. I shower. They like didn't really want me to shower, but I think it's probably annoying to like get all the stuff off and put it back on. I don't know. But I did it, and it felt so much better to be in the shower than to not be. I don't know. Like, when I was out, my back was hurting really bad, so like my husband was applying counter pressure on some of them. And then when I was in the shower, I didn't really feel like I needed that because of the hot water, I guess. So anyways, they did start picking up in intensity. Like, I remember there would be a couple that were like, wow, that's like way more intense than they have been. And then I'd have a couple that were just like, okay, like, fine, I can breathe through. And my poor husband, I was like, when they would be really intense, I would be like, give me counter pressure, like, start it. I'd be like, start now. And, yeah. And then he'd have to, like, push on my hips as hard as he could. And then I'd be like, okay, stop. I was really demanding, which I'm never demanding, so it was kind of funny. But I do feel a little bit bad for him. Anyways, so that was like encouraging to me, because I was like, something has changed, something is going, something is like happening. So I felt better about like turning down the Pitocin, because I'm like, my body's working. And not that it hadn't been, but it was like putting in some real work. And I also remember there was some that were coming, and it was like so intense. I felt like my body was like spreading, like pulling apart, and it was like, it was really intense, and my back hurt really bad, but just like the sensation itself, I just remember thinking during it, like, wow, this is so cool. Like, this is so amazing that my body is doing this and that my body can do this. And it's just like incredible in my mind. So it was less like, oh my gosh, this is so painful and terrible, other than my back. It was just like, wow, like, how amazing is our body? And I also had my birth affirmation cards that I made. Like, I had all these like little note cards. And so I would be like standing, leaning over this like little table they had at the hospital with like all my cards. So I was just like reading them as I would go through one, or I would like put one in my mind and close my eyes, and like as I was having a contraction, I would just like say it over and over. And anyways, so the midwife comes back and she's like, time is ticking. I noticed that it's daylight, so I've gone through the whole night. Now it's the 6th, and I'm like, ugh, okay, the clock is ticking. I don't know. She wants me to start Pitocin. I didn't want to, and so she suggested that I pump, because like nipple stimulation helps things move along sometimes. It can help you progress. So I agreed to that, but I had never done that before, so it was so weird. Like, they gave me this pump, and I'm just like, it feels terrible. Like, it felt, I don't know, like, I fully breastfeed my child, and it's nothing. But at the beginning, when you've never done it before, it's like, this is so awkward and weird and terrible. So, especially, like, with people coming in, like, ugh, it was so weird. So, I would do it for, like, I think 15 minutes, and then, like, wait 10 minutes, and then 15, wait. And I did it for, like, an hour or two. I don't remember exactly. I think I did it for an hour, and then they said, like, wait for an hour and see if anything happened. So we did that. And at this point, like, after that's happened, I'm still getting these, like, crazy intense contractions. And I'm standing there, and I'm like, my legs are shaking so bad. I don't know if it was, like, adrenaline, or if it was labor, or if it was because I was so tired, I don't know, but I was like, I can't stand anymore, but I can't lay down, and I don't know what to do. And, like, I had to be, like, hands and knees didn't work. I was, like, getting to the end. I was like, I don't know what more I can do, and so they were like, let me check you, and let's see where we're at, and they checked me, and I was, like, at 3.5 centimeters dilated. 3 or 3.5. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I've been feeling these, like, crazy intense sensations, and I've barely moved at all. I was just like, what in the world? I don't know what to do. And, like, the daylight was happening, so it's like, we're getting close, and I don't know. I just was getting to the end. Now that I had done the nipple stimulation and they had waited like an hour afterwards, they were like, okay, the time is ticking, and like, we got to see what's going on, because we need to see if we need to start Pitocin. And so I was like, I don't want to do it, but give me a second. So my husband and I talked about it, and I was like, feeling really bad because this, like, nasty pea soup crap was coming out of me, and I'm like, my baby's, like, swimming around in this, plus my baby's been in there for, like, almost 4 days now, like, dealing with these contractions as well, and so I just felt, like, torn. I didn't know what to do, so we decided, okay, we'll start Pitocin, but at, like, the lowest level. So they started that, and as I'm, like, hooked up to it, I'm, like, starting to kind of freak out, because now I'm, like, stuck. There's no getting out of it. It's already started. And so I also, like, my legs were so wobbly, like, I felt like I couldn't stand anymore, and, like, they were coming, like, every minute. And this is even before they started the Pitocin. They were coming every minute. And they were, like, really ramped up. So I was, like, having my husband do the counter pressure every single time. I was like, this is so painful. I don't know what to do. My back hurts so bad, and I can't stand, and I can't lay down, and, like, oh. And then, like, these people are coming in and out. Luckily, my mom came, and she, like, made me feel better, but I'm just like, what? And then I had, like, Christian music playing. I had essential oils. I had my, like, flashcards with all these birth affirmations on them, which was really helpful, but I just was like, I don't know what to do. So then I asked for some type of pain medication, so they gave it to me, and the first couple seconds of it, I remember, like, feeling a little bit lightheaded, and I was, like, laid down a little bit, and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe this is doing something, and then after, like, a minute of that, and the contractions kept coming, I was like, oh no, like, this feels no different, like, this did nothing. So, I called the nurse back in. I'm like, this didn't do anything. Like, what's going on? And she said that they only gave me a half dose just to see how my body would take it. And they're like, we'll give you the full dose, but we have to wait because your baby's heart rate has dropped. And I'm like, what? They're like, oh, it's fine. Like, this happens, but your baby heart rate has dropped, and so we can't give you more until your baby's heart rate comes back up. And I'm like, in my head, why would I want more when it's dropped my baby's heart rate? Like, I'm not going to do double of it. Like, that just didn't make sense to me. They seemed to think it was totally fine. I didn't know what was going on, and I was like, that seems terrible, and I'm not doing that. It was at the end. I felt like I was suffering. I felt like the pain had turned to suffering, and I just knew that suffering is not what I wanted. And I also had the thought, I've always wanted more kids. Like, I've always wanted to be mom, and I had the thought, like, I'm never doing this again. I will never do this again. I can't do this again. We are going to have to adopt because there's no way I can, like, ever do this again. And so once I had that thought and I, like, said that to my husband, I realized this is not worth it, and I want to get my baby out, and I want him to be safe, and I just, like, can't. Ugh. So I ended up asking for the epidural, and I did not realize that asking for epidural, actually I got checked first because I was like, let's just check, and if I'm close, I'm close. They checked. I think I was like 4 centimeters dilated, and I was just like, we got to get to 10. I'm done. Let's get an epidural. So they came in to get an epidural, like what seemed like an hour later. Probably wasn't. I don't know the concept of time at that moment, but I was just like, get in here now. I didn't realize it wasn't immediate. So anyways, they come in, and there's like 3 of them. One is like the head person. The other 2 seem like they're students. He's like telling them what to do, what's going on. He's like narrating the whole situation. He doesn't even do the epidural. Like, I'm having these terrible contractions every minute. And I am not allowed to move. You have to like hunch over, and you cannot move at all. You have to be perfectly still. And then like the main guy is not even doing it. It's like the student is doing it. So he's like telling him how to do it. And then like he gets it wrong, and he's telling them how to fix it, and then blah, blah, blah. And then finally he has to like step in and do it. It took forever. It felt like it took forever. Maybe it didn't. I don't know. But it was like so terrible. And I was so angry inside. I'm like, just get it done now. So, that was terrible. And then once they did it, like, I could still feel a whole side. Like, half my body was still feeling the pain, and I'm like, I am done with this. I am done with the pain. I've already given up. I've already done the stupid epidural. Like, the pain should be gone. Like, what? So anyways, they have to, like, call them back in there. Seems like forever again. And then they're like, let's load her back up. Get this taken care of, whatever. And then they like flip me to that side, and anyways, finally it's all said and done, and I'm good. And I don't know if it's the epidural or if it was just because I was like fully relaxed. I don't know if it was like the drugs in it, whatever, but I just like pass out, fall asleep. I wake up 2 hours later, and my OB is in there, which I didn't expect. And she's like pulling up my legs, like feeling me up, and there's like all this blood, and I was like, what is happening? She's like, okay, you're about ready to go, so I'll be back in a second, and you'll start pushing. I'm like, what? And my mom's like, yeah, they like, remember I said I wanted the lowest dose of Pitocin, and my mom's like, yeah, they like cranked it up a lot, and I guess you're about ready to go. And I don't know. I don't know how that works, but whatever. And so I remember feeling this like huge sense of fear, because I was like, I've been tortured in a sense for days, and now I'm gonna have to push. And what if this hurts? Like, I finally got to the point where I'm relaxed. I finally got to sleep. I finally got the pain away, and now I have to push this baby out. Like, I had totally forgotten a baby was coming out. I was just thinking about the pain. Like, I didn't even realize, like it just like escapes. I don't know how, but I was just like, what? I don't want to push this baby out. I don't want any pain. Like, this better not hurt. Like, I was freaking out. I almost cried. I'm like, Mom, I can't do this. Anyways, so they come back in for me to push. My husband's there. They like make my husband grab a whole leg. In my head, he was going to be like back behind me, not seeing anything. But no, he was like first one up to see the show. So my mom leaves, and he's like up there with the leg, and I remember like you're not supposed to use your legs, you're supposed to like use your breathing, and you're supposed to relax your legs, and if you have to give birth on your back, you want to like use your arms, whatever. So I'm like trying to do all those things. Also, they're like doing the coach pushing, which I can't feel any pain, but I can feel where the surges are happening, where it's like telling me to push, if that makes any sense. So it's like not painful, but like a little bit of a surge I could feel. So they're like giving me a countdown, but I'm like trying to ignore them and like do what my body's feeling like. And they're telling me to like hold my breath and breathe. They're telling me something totally different than what I had learned. So I had already given up. So I'm like, I guess I just have to give in and do what y'all are saying. So I push as hard as I can. I pushed like 5 times. I don't know. It took 10 minutes of pushing, and I remember at the end they were like, "Do you want to feel it?" And so I was like, not really, but sure. So like I felt down, and like I felt some hair, like a baby's head hair. And I also remember feeling it was like so awkward because they had like bright lights on this situation, and I'm like, this is so weird that everybody's seeing all this stuff, but like at the same time I don't care because I just want to see my baby. But I don't know, it's a weird thing. And so I did not feel the ring of fire, did not feel any of that stuff. The nurse told me I would, but felt nothing like that. So then he comes out, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, he's a big boy. He's like at least 8 pounds. Like that's a big little man, whatever. And I think my husband was like in shock, and we recorded it. So I'll have to like play a little clip of it because it's just funny, especially since I thought it was a girl coming out.
It's a boy. It's a boy. Here we go. Yes, I know.
Hi, friend. Do you have names in count for your boy?
Oh my gosh, you're so cute. You're like 8 pounds, dude.
You were all baby.
So they had like a whole team in there that whisked him away because he had meconium, so they wanted to make sure like it wasn't in his lungs and stuff. So they like, take him away, they clean him all off. They also cut the cord immediately, which I wanted like delayed cord clamping. I didn't realize that 2 minutes is delayed to them. Anyways, so they cut the cord, my husband cuts the cord, and I just like wasn't even thinking in the moment, like, wait, I was just like in complete shock. Plus he was a boy. I was like, what is happening? This is not how I envisioned this. And so they clean him up, whatever, and then he's on me, and he's just like, what? Like, this came out of me, and what is this? Like, it was just like the weirdest feeling. It was so weird and cool and awesome and just like incredible. But then the nurse took my baby. They asked, can we take him to weigh him? And actually the nurse who came to like weigh him was the same nurse who I saw the first day, who was super awesome, who was like, you can do this. I'll see you tonight, which wasn't true, but I did see her. And I think she even like had a tear in her eye. She was so sweet. Like, she was awesome. She weighed him, and he was 9 pounds, 7 ounces. He was a big boy. And yeah, he was just like so awesome, so healthy. Like the meconium wasn't a big deal in any way. He was totally fine. He immediately like latched on my boob, and that was weird, but super cool, super awesome. Yeah, and it was just like a really perfect little angel little boy. So yeah, that is how my labor and birth went. It was definitely not how I saw it happening. But of course, like, you always make a plan. doesn't necessarily happen. It's not what I expected, but I did at the end of it have a healthy, sweet baby boy, and I learned so much from it. It also like catapulted me into learning as much as I could about birth, because like as soon as I saw my son, I was like, I'll do this again. Like I'm going to have another baby, which is crazy because before I was like, no, I'm never having a baby again. Like when I was in it, I was like, never again, I can't do this. And then as soon as I saw his face, I was like, yeah, we're doing this again. Like we're doing this again and it's going to be different. It did take me a few months to like process my birth and to realize like, okay, I can do this again and I can get it the way that I wanted it to be. So I hope this story did not scare anyone watching. I hope that you can see some of the positives from this and plus see like maybe learn what not to do, and maybe it catapults you into learning more things about labor and birth, because it definitely did that to me. I have learned so much post birth. I have been a crazy birth lady and I just feel so much more confident, and I am excited about the next time I give birth, which is crazy because that was like torture. That was like not cool, not fun. But at the same time, I have gotten to a place where I am like so excited about getting to do the whole process again, which takes a lot of like processing and learning. But I just hope that if you had any type of like negative birth experience, any type of birth trauma, which I know that I didn't even have it bad. Like there are people who have had it way worse. So I don't even want to like complain. But if you had any type of birth trauma in any way, or any situation that like didn't go to plan, I hope that you can like learn from it and process your birth and have the birth that you really wanted, because I know that I can have it. I know that I can get it with the next birth. I know that it's possible. And so I hope that that's what you get from this. And I hope that it didn't freak you out. Anyways, I really appreciate you for watching.